Hi, everyone. My name is Ernesto Hernandez. I am a remote librarian for the Xavier University, Louisiana Library. This is going to probably be a little bit different than a typical orientation that you'd get where you actually go to the library. In that I'm going to be discussing and showing you examples all online. Nowadays, too, most of your research can be completed online. And the nice thing is you can do this either on campus, from your dorm, from home, wherever you might be. A lot of our library resources can now be accessed online. However, if you are on campus, and I would assume most of you are on campus, I believe your class in particular is an on-campus class, I would encourage you to go check out the library. I've been a remote librarian. I'm going on my second year now as a remote librarian. I have not had the opportunity to make it to Xavier and check out the library. I plan to do that hopefully in the near future, but I've been to New Orleans a couple of times and I've loved my time down there. I need to make it over to Xavier and actually meet some of my on-campus colleagues. There are about 8 remote librarians, and I'm actually located in Ogden, Utah. So I'm pretty much an adjunct instructor, meaning I'm kind of a part-time instructor and librarian for Xavier University. I am a faculty member at Weber State University in Ogden, Utah, which is just north of Salt Lake City. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get into today's session. So I have kind of an outline and overview. I'm going to turn my camera off so I'm not just a talking head this entire time, and share my screen with you as I introduce and show you the various resources you have access to online. So we're going to look at using the library, including what you need to check out materials, how you'll log in from off campus, printing and scanning that you can do in the library, study rooms, how to reserve those. And then we'll actually do some searching with some sample search topics, just some generic search topics that I have that will hopefully be helpful for you as you begin to do some research. And then we'll wrap it up with covering a little bit on plagiarism and citation. Both of those are definitely important, especially when doing research and using other people's work. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't anticipate this video to be super long. And again, I don't want it to be super long because I do know that sometimes I'll lose people if I just ramble on. So the video probably will be about 35 minutes or so. However, you will have access to this recording. So if you need to go back and find anything, you can just access the recording and jump to a section that you may need to review, or if you need to remember something. So give me just a moment while I turn off my camera and then share my screen. Okay, hopefully what you are seeing right now is the Xavier University Library homepage. Just for your reference, I'm going to highlight here at the top in the search bar. It is xula.libguides.com/library. That is the URL to get to the Xavier University of Louisiana Library website. If you've never been here before, I'm going to point out just some things that you may want to take note of if you plan to use or plan to visit the library. Probably the most important thing, though, that I want you to remember from this video is that there are several different ways that you can get assistance. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of using your librarians, whether it's for research or finding materials. You can chat in with us. You can email us. We have telephone, you can text, or as you get into your upper division classes and you're getting into more in-depth research, I highly suggest that you take advantage of this Meet section right here, where you can get a one-on-one research consultation with a librarian. One thing to know about that, or with any consultation or reference interaction that you have with the librarian, is we're here to help you. We want to see you succeed. So we will do our best to find the materials that you need for your research topic. However, we will not do the research for you. We'll definitely show you what databases we suggest, how to successfully search or strategically think about searching for materials, and then forward you any relevant or pertinent information related to your research. We just will not do the research for you. So part of this is some skill building, and you'll learn how to navigate the library website a little bit better. But again, take advantage of the help that you have from the librarians on campus. And the nice thing about accessing the library online is that over here on the right-hand side in the upper right-hand corner, I'm hovering over this little tab. It says, got a question? If you open that up, that window kind of slides open. That is a chat feature. And that chat feature is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For regular business hours at Xavier University, it's typically staffed from 8 a.m. in the morning till about 8 p.m. at night. But if you're doing some homework, some research outside of those hours, it is staffed by other librarians, other reference staff, I believe from around the country, but there will be someone online to try and assist you as best they can. So don't fret, don't worry if you need some help. You have that tab right there, the chat feature, as well as right here in this contact us section. The other area I want to point out, I'm going to highlight it right here towards the bottom of the page. So I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and the bottom left-hand side, there is a section for library hours. You can see the hours that the library is open. So we're open from 8 a.m. to midnight. As I mentioned, the chat features, the online help is open 24 hours a day. If you need to access anything from archives or special collections, you can see those hours there. And then we have the Innovation Studio. So I'm not super familiar with that, but I believe that's an area where you have access to like some microphones. So if you're doing any podcasts, I believe that it may even be like a maker space where they'll have maybe some 3D printing type of thing, but don't quote me for that 100%. Again, I unfortunately haven't been able to visit, but the Innovation Studio is within the library. It's currently showing that it's closed, but you can check the hours here under library hours. So I'm going to scroll back up here, and for some kind of more general information, some housekeeping areas, some things to kind of remember, there's this Get Help section. And immediately under the Get Help, there's this citations area. We'll circle back to that because that's an important area. And especially after we find some materials, you're going to want to cite those. But if you just click on Get Help, again, it will take you to this area where you have these different options to get some assistance. But I want to point out this area where there are these questions here. So if after this orientation today, you have some questions, more specific questions than what I've covered, this is where I would suggest you go. If you just want to browse to see if there is an FAQ that is maybe addressed in here, just click on this Ask button at the end of the search bar right there without typing a question, and it will take you to these frequently asked questions. And what's nice about this is that it's broken down by topics. So most frequently asked questions by topic. So anything from research help to about the library to maybe more specific how-tos. I'm going to click on this how-to just to give you a quick overview. So how do I access a specific library database? And for example, if you want to go over that again, there's a little answer key right here that will tell you how to get to the databases as well as some direct links to get into those databases. And we're going to cover some of that today. Going back on these how-tos, there is this area of how to access my library account. How do I log into my library account? And I think this one is important because if you're off campus and you're not logged in anything, maybe through Brightspace, I believe is what your learning management system that Xavier uses. the library will not recognize that you're logged in. So you'll need to use your library ID number. This can be found on the back of your student ID. It is a long number. It's a 17-digit number. And there's an example here of what it's comprised of right there. So if this is your first time logging in, you do need a PIN, but you can get that email. And again, if you have questions or having trouble accessing your library account, please contact us. Don't hesitate. It may not be immediate. If you call during regular business hours, of course, someone should answer. But via email, we're pretty quick at getting back to you. So just so you're aware of that. But just as a reminder, check out these FAQ areas if you do have questions about anything that maybe I'm not going to cover today, because there's a lot of helpful information here. The other frequently asked questions that I think I've experienced since I've started here at Xavier is how to get a study room. So this is important too, because, you know, midterms or finals, everyone wants to find a nice quiet study space to focus, or a group study room, you know, with other classmates. This is really great because you can just go to this FAQ, click on how to book a study room, and you'll have direct links to those study room areas. All right, I'm going to navigate back to the home page. And let's see, we are going to start just here on this home page. So this is mostly what you'll see every time you go to the library's homepage. You'll see this left-hand side where you have different options to navigate, the contact us area, and then usually here in the middle, we'll have some highlighted area, whether that be databases that we are highlighting or news or events that are happening in the library. But just above this area is where we're going to start. This search for books, videos, articles, and more. I just highlighted that right there. And there's a search box right there. This is a great starting point, especially if you're starting out with your research. However, you should keep in mind, this is not a database. In kind of library nerd terminology, this is a discovery tool because this is bringing back pretty much everything that the library has physically in-house, so at the library on the shelf, as well as everything that the library has online available. So everything from streaming media, that includes streaming videos, to online journal articles, to ebooks. So it's a great starting point if you are just starting out. The other thing that I sometimes advise students to do is, rather than just use this search box and type in your question or your keywords, you may want to consider clicking on advanced search. When you click on advanced search, it's going to redirect you to this page. And the reason I would suggest maybe clicking on advanced search is that way you can see everything that you have available to you to select from and be a little bit maybe more specific in what it is that you're looking for. Right now, as I told you, the default is searching everything, both in-house in the library and online. But you can limit it just to the library catalog, or to journal articles, or to materials in the archives. You'll also notice at the top of this web page, just underneath the web address bar right here, there are different options that you can also search. There's also this nice where can I get help? And if you want to know how this works, you can also create an account on here. But I think for our purposes, let's just pretend we're getting started with our research. Again, I have some sample generic search terms that I'm going to use. And I'm going to start off with, in this field right here, I'm just going to keep any field and contains. I'm not going to go into depth on what that means. So my suggestion is leave the filters as they are. Let's just enter our search terms. And these are basically the keywords for our research topic or maybe our research paper. One thing that's important to note is that you do not type in your research question here. This does not operate as Google. If you were to use Google, you could put your research question in and you're bound to get results, regardless of if those results are relevant to what it is you're searching for. When you use a library tool, such as this tool right here, which is a discovery tool, you need to break down your question into the main keywords of your topic. So let's say, for example, I'm interested in college student study habits. And so I'm breaking that down into college students. And you'll notice on the right-hand side of my page, there's this chat feature, which is really great. So if you do need help, don't forget about that. Sometimes that will pop up. So I'm going to do college students and time management. And one helpful tip before I click on search for this is if you have 2 or more keywords that belong together, such as these keywords that I'm using, college students, you want to enclose them in quotes. The reason you'll want to do that is when this search tool searches for articles, books, media, whatever it might be, if you enclose those in quotes, it's making sure that it's looking for those items that have those 2 keywords exactly together. Otherwise, you're going to get a search that searches for everything that has the major keyword college and the major keyword students, and not necessarily together. So I want to search a little bit more strategically. I specifically want to make sure that it is searching for college students and those 2 words together. The same with time management, right? I don't want it to search for everything that has a major keyword time and everything with management. That's not relevant to what I'm searching for. I want time management specifically. And then lastly, I'm connecting those keywords with and. So again, I did not type my research question in here. I broke it down into major keywords that are relevant to my topic or to my research question. I'm now ready to click search. And within this search, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You can see up here at the top, I'm highlighting it. I have 1,054 results. Now, keep in mind, this is a ton of results. As I mentioned, it's searching everything the library has in-house and online. There's no way I would expect a student, let alone a librarian or a faculty member, to go through all 1,054 results. It's just not feasible, and it's a waste of time, right? So let's work smarter, not harder, and use the left-hand side over here to narrow down our results. So one of the first things that I always advise students, especially if you are doing college level research, is you want to make sure that you are selecting peer-reviewed journal articles. So let's say with our college students in time management, we're interested in finding journal articles and not ebooks or anything else, not newspapers. We want journal articles. So peer-reviewed journal articles mean they have been vetted by other peers, other experts in that particular field. In that review process, they've been deemed credible and reliable. The research holds up. Those are the types of articles that your instructors expect you to use and find from library databases. So I'm going to select peer-reviewed journals. And I'm also going to look at this subject area. Now, in thinking about my research question and the keywords I used, I tell students this subject area is a great place to look for additional subject terms, so keywords that they may want to supplement that they've already searched. If you see your keywords in there, of course, there's college students and there's time management, you can add some more. If you add some more, my suggestion is no more than 3 or 4 at the very most, because we're trying to narrow this down. We already have over 1,000 results. We want to focus this just a little bit more. So maybe I want to focus just on undergraduate students, right? I was pretty broad in saying college students, but am I talking about undergraduate students or graduate students? I'm going to say just undergraduate students. And then maybe I want to see the study skills. So there's another one. Right now, with the 2 that are related to my keywords, I have a total of 4 check marks. I'm going to leave that as is. So I'm going to click apply filters, but before I do that, you'll notice there are other options here that you can select. Resource type. We are looking at journal articles, so I'm just going to click on articles on here because I do not want newspaper articles or books or book chapters or videos to show up in my results. You can also check collection on here. This is just kind of a list of the databases. You can leave it as is because it's going to mine, which is basically search through all of these databases. And then you have a publication date. This might be handy if your instructor says you can only have articles within the past 10 years, or maybe you need to look at the research from a specific time period or date. That's where you can manipulate this area. I'm not going to mess with that. Again, if you're familiar with any journal titles, you can select those, but I'm not going to do that. And if you are looking for articles in a different language, in a foreign language, you can select language on here, but I'm not going to mess with any of that. So I'm going to apply my filters for everything that I've selected. And we went from, I believe it was 1,054 results. We are now down to 655, which is still quite a bit. And don't feel like you'd have to go through all of them, but we're a little bit more focused, right? So here on the left-hand side, I have this area for active filters. I'm looking at peer-reviewed journal articles about college students, time management, and the focus is specifically on undergraduates and their study skills. So with that, I'm comfortable without trying to narrow this down maybe anymore. I can if I'd like, if I want to, I can go back over here and maybe focus this a little bit more, but I'm going to kind of browse through some of these results and see if any of these titles stick out to me. So let's see. Let's look at this one right here. First year college students' time use, relations with self-regulation and GPA. So if this title caught my eye, what I can do is click on this record. So I'll click on the title right there. And usually it opens up a window, but it's not opening up. So I'm going to download PDF. And this is going to redirect me to the journal that has this article. And there it gives me it takes me directly to that journal article right here. So now I have access to this. Just some things I want to point out up here at the top. This is the name of the journal. Now remember, we're going to talk about citation, right? So let's say in my research paper, I'm going to use this article. I will need to cite this article. So I'm going to point out what is called the bibliographic information. That includes the title of the journal. So this is a Journal of Advanced Academics. It was published in 2017, volume 28, issue 1, and it's pages 5 through 27. My title is right here. First year college students' time use, relations with self-regulation and GPA. And then I have, it looks like there are 4 authors here. Now, helpful tips as you're just beginning your research and you're looking for articles. A lot of them will have an abstract. And if you're not familiar with what an abstract is, it's pretty much a quick summary and introduction to what this article is about. The abstract is typically no longer than a paragraph. So you can see this abstract is about a paragraph long. Generally, there'll be no more than 2 paragraphs at the very most, but most of them will be 1 paragraph. And within that paragraph, the first few sentences are an intro to that article. So what it's about. The middle of that paragraph shows the study. Typically, it shows the study, what they did. And then the end of that paragraph are a quick summary or brief example or a brief statement on the conclusion or what they're doing moving forward. That way you can get a better idea without having to read that entire article at that moment of whether or not this article will help you with your research. And I say it's helpful to review the abstract because I'm pretty familiar with a lot of instructors who say you need, anywhere from 5 to 10 journal articles, peer-reviewed journal articles to use for your research paper. That's a lot of reading. And if you're just compiling them, you're just starting out, the easiest way to get an idea of whether an article is going to be helpful without having to read it in its entirety is to look at the abstract. So take a look at the abstract. Let's say this one's helpful. I'm going to use this one. So you have some options going back to this record, right? If you want to save this, I would suggest either using one of these options. Use the permalink, which is direct link to this article, and maybe put that in your own email and email it to yourself. Or download the PDF, print it out if you have access to a printer. You can print in the library. So in that FAQ section, if you just type in printing, it will give you instructions on where the printers are and how to print. You can also email this to yourself. So let's say I want to email, you'll just type in your email right there and it will send it directly to your inbox. That's pretty easy. The other nice thing is that I mentioned you need to cite these sources. Using this discovery tool for these results, a lot of them will have this tool for citation. So you'll see these quotation marks. I'm not sure what citation style you'll be using for your class. At the university that I also teach at here in Utah, I teach a composition writing course, and we are actually using APA citation. So MLA is the Modern Language Association. That's what MLA stands for. APA stands for the American Psychological Association. And you'll notice as I clicked from MLA to APA, the style slightly changed. These are two different styles. All of these, though, are different citation styles. So you'll need to check with your instructor to make sure the citation style that you'll be using for your paper. I mention that because let's say we are citing an APA citation. I can basically highlight this, but there's this copy citation to clipboard, and then paste this into my paper. However, you need to be aware of the specific rules related to the citation style that you're using. This APA, I can tell you, is not 100% correct. It's great because, you know, it seems to be on the correct order, but I do know for a fact when using APA, only the first letter of the title is capitalized and any proper names or nouns are capitalized. It looks like every first letter of each word is capitalized here, and that is not correct. Everything else looks to be just fine, but again, you'll even note that there's a little note down here. Remember to check citations for accuracy before including them in your work. And for example, on APA, that capitalization is incorrect. However, just by copying and pasting this into my paper, if I'm familiar with the citation style that I'm using, I can quickly go back in and make those corrections. So I'm going to go back out. Again, just a quick recap. We're using this discovery tool. And in order to narrow down my results, when I had over 1,000 results, I'm now down to 655. I used the left-hand side filters, these limiters on here, to really help me focus in and narrow down what it is I am exactly looking for. Again, I started out with just college students and time management, but with college students, that's broad. Again, am I interested in undergraduate students or graduate students? And I found out that there's an option to select undergraduate students. So I'm a little bit more specific in what it is I'm looking for, and it narrowed down those results. I also narrowed down into the format that I'm looking for. Remember, I could search newspapers, I could search streaming video, ebooks. I was only interested in looking for journal articles that were peer-reviewed. We're looking at peer-reviewed journal articles. All right, so I am going to go back to the Xavier University Library homepage. I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. But again, that's just this search box right here that you can get started. And this is a great starting point. So if you're just starting out, I would suggest using this search box right here. Now, I know many of you are just like, show me the databases. Let's get straight to the databases because my instructor says I need to find 5 journal articles for my research paper. Well, on this left-hand side, let's get right to it. We can click on databases. So I'm hovering over or under research right here, and the drop-down that automatically pops up gives me several options here. I'm going to click on databases. Now, this might seem a little bit overwhelming. There's an A through Z list of databases. We have a total of 229 databases. Some helpful things to remember, though, is that we can really narrow down our databases either by subject. So maybe you're doing research for a criminal justice class, or maybe it's for education or English, whatever it might be. You may want to look at the databases that are listed within this subject area. You also have all databases by type, so maybe you are specifically looking for ebooks and not journal articles. You can select ebooks on there. This vendors or providers, unless you're familiar with a specific database name or you've used a database quite a bit, I don't think this will be too helpful. I don't have them memorized, and I've been a librarian for over a decade. I would just mostly use either by subject right here or by database type. Now, in subject, there is a area for just general. Let's just say it's general. It's not necessarily tied to a specific class that's either related to my major or a specific area of study. I just want to see what the general databases have. They're showing 17 databases there. I'm going to click on that. Now, there's quite a bit of best bets here. That means that these are recommended databases just for general searching. You'll also notice here on the right-hand side, these are librarians that can assist you. I'm also listed right there. So if you want to quickly and easily contact me, you can click on my name. It will take you to my email address and you can shoot me an email with whatever question that you might have. Going back to these databases though, these first two that are listed are pretty good. These ones are the databases that I typically show students when I do library orientations, and I'm going to go with Academic Search Complete. Now, if you're doing this from home, remember, you're going to most likely need to authenticate in, so that way it verifies that you are a Xavier University student. We are searching Academic Search Ultimate, but we can include other databases if we'd like right here. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to keep it at Academic Search Ultimate. Click Continue. And this is the homepage of Academic Search Ultimate. Now, I want to note something because I've gotten this from students both at Xavier and other universities I've taught at. Sometimes I'll get students who say they need help, and I've asked them, okay, just to give me an idea, what databases have you used? And they often tell me, oh, I used the EBSCOhost database. That doesn't tell me anything because most of them have this same look and platform. What I need to know is what I'm highlighting right here, just above the search bar. We are searching Academic Search Ultimate. By knowing what you're searching, especially if you're asking for help, someone can better help you by maybe suggesting a more appropriate database. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. So searching Academic Search Ultimate, in our search box, I'm going to do my same sample search. I'm going to do college students. I'm connecting that with these two keywords, time management. Remember, I'm putting them in quotes because I want to get results that specifically show those two keywords together in the results section. Before I click on search, just make note of all of these search options you have underneath. I typically do not manipulate any of those or use them because when I click on search, I'll show you. I'll have this left-hand side, just like we did in our previous search, where I can narrow down these results. This isn't super overwhelming. Again, this is one database out of the over 200 that you have access to, right? And this is a general database, but 350 is a little bit time consuming. Maybe I can narrow this down a little bit more in this particular database. So again, my favorite phrase, work smarter, not harder. Use this left-hand side and click on peer reviewed. And immediately from 350, we are now down to 279. I have a publication date slider here. I'm going to leave that as is. So it looks like the oldest journal article in these results is from 1990 all the way up to 2023 publications. I do want academic journal articles. So that didn't change anything because we are looking at journal articles, 279, but I'm clicking on that anyway, just to ensure that that's what we're looking at. And then I have these two areas, subject, thesaurus term, and subject. Again, the easiest way to think about this, is these are free keywords to supplement the keywords I've already used up above. And again, my two keywords that I've used, time management, or phrases, I should say, time management and college students are listed there. So I'm going to select those two. And again, same rule applies, no more than 3 or 4. Let's see if we can focus this a little bit more. Maybe I'm interested in study skills. And again, undergraduate students. These numbers right here show you how many journal articles are going to be listed in this database related to these subject terms, these thesaurus terms, these keywords that you are selecting. So I'm going to click update. 10 results from over 350 down to 10. I'm really focused here. Let's take a look at these. Now, the nice thing about using Academic Search Ultimate is over here on the right-hand side, you have this paper with the magnifying glass. If you hover over that, this window pops up and you get this bibliographic information, right? This is all the information that you need if you are going to cite this source, the title, the authors. The source is the journal title. So this is Learning and Instruction. We have the date there. And then, of course, our abstract, right? This is going to help us determine whether or not this article will be useful and whether or not it's an article we want to use for our paper. So let's look at this one, underachievement among college students. I've hovered over the bubble. I've looked at this information. I read the abstract. Looks like it's something I want to use. So I'm going to click on the record and it's going to take me to a full page so I can see everything on there. I want to point some things out to you. There's these subject terms. Again, these are recommended keywords that you might want to consider in a new search. So our search is time management in college students. There's some keywords, some subject terms that exactly match ours, but if there's something new in there that you haven't tried, you might want to make note of that. To get to this actual article, it's here on the left-hand side. PDF full text. There you go. There is your article. Now, I'm going to X out of this because I'm going to show you, whoops. Back on this page, there are some helpful tools, just like in the last discovery tool that we used, if you are compiling articles. It's over here on the right-hand side. You can email this article to yourself. You'll type in your email address there. And what's nice, again, is you can select the citation for which you'll be citing this article. So are you using MLA citation or APA citation? We'll say APA. It will send this direct link to this article along in the APA 7th edition citation style to your inbox. Super helpful. If you're only interested in citing this article, going back to the right-hand side, you can click on this like square, it's supposed to be a yellow piece of paper, click on Cite. It opens this window. And before I look at the citations, I want you to read this note up here. Pay special attention to personal names, capitalization, and dates. Again, these are not always 100% correct, but what's helpful is if I'm citing this in APA, I can quickly highlight this, copy it, paste it into my paper, and then because I'm familiar with APA, make any necessary corrections, whether that's a period, a comma, capitalization, italicized words, whatever it might be, I can make those corrections. In looking at this one, again, the same errors are made. The U in underachievement should be capitalized as it is, but everything else among, the A should be lowercase, the C in college should be lowercase, and the S in students should be lowercase. Other than that, everything else looks like it's correct. So again, these are not always 100% correct, but it's easier than having to type them all out. You can copy and paste it in there and then quickly make the necessary corrections that are needed. You also have the permalink option. So use this link rather than the URL at the top. If you try to use the URL in the address bar, it's not going to work. It's going to be broken. It won't even take you anywhere. So my advice is to use the email or the site feature, but if you want to use the permalink and then throw that into your own email, if you have that open, you can do that. That's pretty much using Academic Search Ultimate in a nutshell. Again, you have these options down here. The more you do this, the more familiar you'll get with using our databases. I'm going back to the A through Z databases in general. But you can explore all 229, but remember the easiest way is just maybe to try and focus in on a subject area for which your question or your topic falls under. Maybe you are doing research in the criminal justice area. Maybe you're a early childhood education instructor. We go to education. There are 39 databases for education. Amy is the education librarian. She's also a remote librarian, but if you need more specific help, she's available to help you. And you have these best bets here. So you can try some of these, and you'll see underneath each database, there's a description of what that database covers to help you make a decision of whether or not that database will be helpful. I'm going to go back now to the homepage of the library, and I want to show you one more area before we get into citation under research. There is this research guides area. These are guides that will help you on a particular subject area or a specific class. When you go to this, it will automatically show all 52 guides. I'm going to go down to, I believe it is, let me see if it's there, this research process area. This is a guide that I had helped create and added some content into. So if you want to jot this down while you're watching this video, research guides, and click on the research process guide. This basically kind of walks you through how to get going and get started with research. So your introduction, your topic selection, getting organized, finding sources. So for example, going to finding sources, this talks about how we just went into the databases and looking at specific databases that you have. And then from those, understanding the sources that you found. So again, I talked about the abstract, what that means, how to, read through that article and pull information out that you can use in your own paper. So putting it into words. And then basically putting it all together, whether that's for a presentation or for a research paper. The research guides are pretty helpful. Again, it's under research. You can go to research guides. There's also an area for research help. So again, you can make an appointment. You can do it either via Zoom or meet on campus. Again, I advise you, if you need help with your research, don't hesitate. We're here to help you. The other thing I was going to show you before we wrap this video up is this citations, right? It's important that we cite our sources. Nobody wants to be accused of plagiarism. That's a pretty serious infraction. Plagiarism is basically copying someone else's thoughts, ideas, or creations and using them as your own without giving them the credit where it's due. And that includes without citing the information that you're using. So in this citation sources, it has an overview of what plagiarism is, and then talks about what citations are if you aren't familiar with citations. Remember, there's several different citation formats. I'm not sure what you're using for your class, but what's helpful with this citing sources is that we cover a few of them right here, including what an in-text citation looks like. So within the body of your paper, when you're using someone else's thoughts or ideas, you'll need to cite within your paper. And for example, in this example of a block quotation here, we are citing this author, Crenshaw, from a 1991 article on here within this article. That's an in-text citation. At the end, though, and this goes into like paraphrasing in-text citation or direct quotes in text citations, and it will give you examples. But at the end, for example, if you're doing an APA, you'll need to put your references list together, all of the sources that you used within your paper to help you write that paper. And what's great about this is we have several different links, as I mentioned here, to help you with your citation style. The same with MLA. Here's an example if you're citing a book. if you're citing a journal. An electronic source would be like a journal article or a website. And remember, these citations look different for the type of format that you're using. So if you are using a journal article, that citation is going to look different than citing a book. If you want to cite a YouTube video, there is a specific way to cite a YouTube video. So just keep in mind that when you're citing your sources, there needs to be a specific format and style that you are using when you are citing. Lastly, we have this area with citation managers. This could be a whole lesson in itself, so I'm not going to go in depth on this, but these help you keep organized with your research and help you cite your sources in a specific uniform way. Either way, at the end of your paper, whether you use MLA or APA, it needs to be in alphabetical order by the author's last name. So just keep that in mind as you're doing that. But if you have citation questions, you should first check with your instructor for any specific rules that they may have. And then you can contact the library for your citation help or the Writing Center. The Writing Center is a great resource to use. I'm not sure if we have a link on here. I don't see a link on here, and I don't have that readily available, so I don't want to waste your time with me searching for the Writing Center. But you can contact any of the librarians, you can contact me, and I can help you out with your citations or any research help that you might need. Just keep in mind, as I mentioned from the start, don't forget about this contact area. You have several different ways to get assistance. I know this video was a bit long. Hopefully those of you that are still watching found it useful. And now you can go back and use this video as needed to help you with your research. As always, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. You can use this About Us section, then contact us, and it will take you directly to this page. I'm listed on here as a remote librarian. I'm also the librarian for foreign languages, political science, and of course, the XCOR liaison. So I hope this has been helpful for you all. Good luck. And I do look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everyone.